Wait a couple minutes. And Mark is not here, so I'll call the meeting to order. I'll start with the standard notification. On March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, which among other things extends the expiration of the provision pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. Specifically, this extension allows remote and hybrid meeting options for public bodies through March 31st, 2025, without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location, and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meetings. The act does not make any new changes to the open meeting law other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding remote meetings to March 31st, 2025. Okay. Order of business, I think the first one will be to accept the minutes of the last meeting of April 30th.
So moved.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Who was it that moved?
Jean.
And who seconded?
Thank you.
Boris.
All right, going around the room. Mike Friska?
Yes.
Ben Barrett is not here. Gene Kenny?
Yes, I'm here. Hey, I'm here. Ben Barrett's here. I say yes.
Your vote, Ben? To accept the minutes?
My vote is yes.
Gene is yes.
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Bridget? Bridget?
Yes.
Don?
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yep.
I'm a yes. Ed Connor?
Yes.
Bill Hahn?
Yes.
Boris is yes. Okay. It's unanimous. All right. Kate, I'll turn it over to you at this point.
Sure. So we're gonna take the agenda a little bit out of order tonight because I know a few people have a hard stop at 7. So we did want to touch on the PCO log and follow up on our conversation from the 30th at the last meeting. So I'll jump over to the PCO log. Hopefully your screen changed. So as you remember at the last building committee meeting, we had talked through the sign proposal which is broken up into 2 parts. The initial is from Sign Design, which is the same sign company that did the Walpole High School front sign. at the main entrance, and we had them quote a sign that was middle school specific, so the brick match, but it was a similar style to the high school. This is a third-party sign company, and their piece of it is for $65,721. And last month, during this meeting, we had a placeholder for the electrical component of 50,000. Since then, we've been able to refine that number, and that electrical piece for the front sign is currently at $35,804. So the full sign upgrade would come to $101,525. I can flip over to the plan just to remind everybody what this looks like. So this is the design of the sign by the sign design firm. So the brick matches the front, the building, the electronic sign is in the middle. The Walpole Middle School will be backlit at night with the address on the top. And just a reminder, the currently owned sign is very minimal. There is a credit $4,000 that's included in that electrical number. And it's just a very simple aluminum Walpole Middle School sign.
So what was the total price, Kate?
So the total price for the front sign is $101,525.
Sorry, I should have grabbed that. Excuse me a second.
Okay, you said 101, 525, right?
101,525, yep.
Okay.
And 88 cents.
Touche.
Kate, this is Dino. I just have a quick question. Did the electrical engineer get involved at all in the design of the electrical requirements, or were the requirements simply spelled out by the sign manufacturer and the electrical subcontractor kind of put the number together? How did that come about?
No, so we had the initial design from Sign Design, and then the electrical engineer worked with us from the sign company to specify what was required to power that front sign. So the design came from our electrical engineer, and that came out in a formal request for proposal, which then Fontaine responded to, that came to the $35,804.
Got it. And did the electrical engineer review the pricing from the subcontractor?
Yes, it has been reviewed.
And they're comfortable with that number then?
Yep, correct.
And I assume it's, and again, I assume you've done this, this is the net up charge for the electrical, or?
Yes. Matt can probably speak to this, but the original conduit there was only a light that was shining on the old sign.
Right.
And that was through the conduit that ran the light poles. So
Right.
along the path out to Washington Street through the woods, there are light poles, and that's how the conduit was run previously. But now we need a completely new conduit run back to the main building, and it's about 1,300 feet. Because there is a transformer that is on this new sign, and there were higher electrical requirements.
Got it, thank you. Oh, just curious, I mean, since this is the same sign as the one in the high school, are they linked in any way? Are they linked online or anything like that, or?
I would have to look. I think Matt, do you remember if we have Wi-Fi capability on this sign?
I think it's got its own independent like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi signal
Yeah.
that comes out of it, so you can access it, I believe, online and put up anything you want from kind of anywhere in the town if you want to.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if it's the same sign, same manufacturer, it makes sense that the signs are somehow linked. Great, thanks.
Kate or Jack, can I share some information that I got from Stephen Imbush, principal at the high school, has the current sign. He and I worked on getting that sign for the high school during COVID. Could I share a few ideas that Stephen shared with me? That would be
Sure.
helpful. So there's 5 ideas that I wanted to share, but a lot of it just really revolves around communications with families. A lot of families don't access email or social media for whatever reasons they may have, and this sign provides a simpler daily update on some of the essential things that go on at the high school that maybe you wouldn't come across if you weren't on social media or email. So it does provide these updates, things that happen in a timely manner, cancellation of a concert, change of times of venues, change the location of events at the high school, things that, unless you're watching a text or using texting, you probably wouldn't get these updates. So the sign does provide that information. We also use it consistently. The town reaches out to us during, town elections, town voting, electronics cleanup. The 300th anniversary was also on the sign that was advertised. Stephen included 8 pages of different events that we advertise on that sign since it was put in place. So it's just an ongoing asset, I think, in communicating with families that drop off, pick up, especially every day. They see this information as they're, dropping their children off. So definitely a very necessary, very important contribution to the community as a whole, as well as families at Walpole High School. So just wanted to share that information. I think Carrie Ruggiero is on the line and had some additional information as well.
Yes, thanks, Mike. If I could just add to that a little bit. I know I spoke during the last meeting about how the digital sign would enhance Walpole Middle School's visibility, communication, and engagement within the community. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that we planned on using this for. Most importantly, to share information in real time. So we would communicate different scenarios, such as some of those things Mike just mentioned: schedule changes, alternative drop-off routes and procedures, important daily reminders, dates, events, testing, snow days. It would also be instrumental in promoting school pride and school events, such as sporting events, student performances, activities, open house, conferences, and so on and so forth. But above all, one of the biggest things that we've done within our research with other surrounding districts is also it's a way to, hopefully we never have the need to, but communicate in real time in the event of an emergency. So we all know that a digital sign absolutely aligns with a new state-of-the-art, beautiful facility that we are lucky to have in Walpole, but it also significantly contributes to the functionality, safety, and spirit of our new school. So I just wanted to share a few notes.
If I could jump in for a second. Carrie, appreciate the comments, Mike as well. With the current Byrd Middle School, Washington Street is the main entrance. With the new middle school, that's not the case. We have 2 main entrances. It's only serving half the student population, in my mind. Those folks coming in from North Walpole and West Walpole, they're coming up 27 or they're coming up Plimpton. The folks from East Walpole and South Walpole, those are the students that this is benefiting. So, I made a comment after the last meeting, I think we had already closed the meeting, that I'd support something if we were to look at doing something at both entrances. Now, this is a big number, $100,000. I feel like in some ways we're spending the money because we have it, but if it's really that good of a tool, I'd like to see us look at doing this for the entire school population, both entrances. That's my position.
So could I clarify on that point, Jeff?
Yeah.
So the bus loop is solely for buses. So the entrance and exit on East Street is solely for the buses and students riding those buses. Parents would access the building primarily from the Washington Street entrance and exit.
When did that change?
I think we would capture our audience at that entrance there.
The original point of the East Street entrance was for parents not have to go up and around Washington Street.
But they changed that recently.
When did they change that?
No.
I don't know. So Kate,
My original argument for that whole driveway on East Street was parents coming from North Walpole and West Walpole, not having to go all the way up High Plain Street.
I guess the question is, when was that changed? I believe it was changed some time ago because if I remember correctly, the neighbors didn't want people coming out in that direction. And to improve the flow with the buses, it was always just going to be a bus exit onto East Street.
It's been only a bus entrance since I've been on the project, since the beginning of DD. So it must have happened in schematic design that was clarified, or early design development.
Okay, thanks. So Jack, if I could say a couple words on this. So from my perspective, to Jeff's point, we're talking about this just because we have the money to do it. That's right. My concern, I think you were on the capital budget committee, back when this was submitted for the high school on 8/20/20, it was a $60,000 request for the high school for that sign. We now have this sign for just over 100,000. My general concern is a little selfish because I'm mindful of capital budget and using free cash. I think in 5 years, there's going to be a need or a request from the school department, maybe even sooner, to come forward and fund an electronic sign. For all the reasons Carrie mentioned at the last meeting and for what she mentioned this evening, I think you have the funds to do it. We have the contractor there to do it at this time. Some may say it's fluff or not needed, but during COVID, we did need communication throughout school. Do I think it's going to come back to COVID? No, but it helps improve communication between the community and the town officials and school officials. I'm asking you guys to consider this tonight just because I think it's needed. We got a $115 million project, and I think to communicate better with the residents, you have the capacity here. I think it's a good project, and I don't think that the school officials, especially the superintendent, the business manager, and the school principal would advance this forward if it wasn't a good project. I'm supportive of it.
Thanks. I mean, regardless of the travel of traffic, whether it's buses or parents, I'm still, I got a 6th grader that's gonna be there next year, 1st grade, first time in. They take the bus, I'm not gonna see that sign ever, so.
I think Boris has his hand raised.
I do, thanks, Kate. I'd like to just make a point on this signage. I live across the street from the high school. I see that sign at the high school. And I've spoken to other parents in other communities that have had signage recently put up, specifically Needham High School. As soon as Needham High School put this particular sign up, there was a fatality of a student being killed in front of that sign. For me, that's a safety concern. That sign is taking the motorist's eyes off the street, especially during busy hours when kids are on that street, especially for any of the walkers. And another example was right at the high school, there was an accident in a crosswalk where a child hit another child in that crosswalk where it shines all the lights telling you that somebody is in a crosswalk. A student got hit by another student. For me, it's a safety concern that these eyes from these motorists are going to be tied to a sign when in today's day and age with technology and texting and email, having up-to-date information. A fire department shows up at the middle school. I get a text message within 20 minutes from the Bird Middle School explaining the situation and what happened. I mean, you're talking about real time. It's real time. I don't need to go up to the street to figure out from a signage standpoint to tell me what's going on at the school. There's plenty of communication by the school currently that tells us that information. For me, it's a concern from a safety standpoint to put something in that will take motorists' eyes away from the street.
I'd like to add a couple of points. I understand completely the desire to go ahead and maximize communication. However, I think if you look at the kind of communication that happens right now within the schools, between the parents, the administrators, the teachers, the general public, that there's ample opportunity for that communication to happen. I mean, what you're gonna be doing is putting out information there about a concert to motorists that don't have, that are interested only because they're not interested because they don't have kids associated with the school. I think that there's adequate communications right now and adequate methods. And for $100,000, that's a lot of money to spend on a sign that's really a nice to have. So I'm not in favor of this at all. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I got my hand up here. It's Ben. If I could go.
Yep. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I hear what Boris is saying. I mean, I think the most compelling thing I've heard out of anything as to why we shouldn't have a sign, might be the safety issue. Given all the distractions that people have these days, I don't think that probably the sign is what's stealing their attention from the road. But I do respect that opinion, and I think it's interesting to think about. Otherwise, there's absolutely no reason to build this. I haven't heard a single reason why we wouldn't. That's reasonable. It looks nice. We're building a state-of-the-art school. We should have a state-of-the-art sign. It's not costing people any more money than it would have. This is money that we've voted to borrow to use on this project. And I think Jim might have buried the lead a little bit, but it's something that all the schools are putting in these days for a myriad of reasons of which we've heard. It's just going to come up a capital budget from the schools in the next 1 to 5 years, and it's going to come out of a different pocket. So it kind of seems like we're making a mountain out of a molehill here, and I think it's common sense that we should have the sign as described. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment.
Sure, go ahead.
If we don't do this sign now, there's a very good chance the school is going to come back in the future and ask for a sign. We'd be foolish right now if we didn't at least run the conduit to plan for the future. Running the conduit is $35,000. So if we do that to plan for the future, really the only thing we're talking about right now in addition to that is the $65,000 for the sign itself. I don't see a problem with getting it done now instead of trying to figure out how to do it later.
Donnie, I actually wanted to ask, Kate, is that 35,000 just the conduit cost, or what else is included in that?
That's for all of the electrical. So it's any electrical work that goes out to that sign. So it's the conduit, the wires, how it's tied back into the building, the transformer, a pole box associated with it.
Data,
So-
they'll be running data.
Because Donnie, the only other thing I was considering as an alternative, if we didn't want to take this up now, was let's run the conduit. What's the cost just on running the conduit?
I would have
Jack,
to look.
this is Nancy. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Jack, is it okay to make a motion?
Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, I can't figure out how to raise my hand, but I do think, I was on the fence on this one, because I don't think it's a must-have, but I do think it's an important thing. I think that people get their information in different ways, and I respect what Boris has to say about the taking the eyes off the road, and that made me think. That definitely made me think, but I do think that what's important will be, we now have one sign on Common Street that alerts the community in the center of town. It would be nice to have another one on Washington Street to alert people of similar type things. I'm not of the frame of mind that we need one at every single school, but I do think a second one in town makes sense. Thanks.
Thank you, Nancy. Anyone else?
Yeah, Jack, can I move the question and make a motion?
Sure.
I make a
Yeah, I'll
motion, make a
I'll
motion to
second that.
approve the sign.
Second, Ben.
So just to be clear, Bridget, you're making a motion for the sign and the electrical through the full.
Correct, the sign and the electrical.
So
And
the
that's what
motion
I'm
is to
seconding.
approve the sign for a total of, what was it, 100 and? what's the number?
$101,525.
$101,525.85. Going around the room. Mike?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
They're not sure that she can.
Nancy?
Yes.
Jen Giotis isn't here. Bridget?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
Dino?
Yes.
Jeff?
No.
I vote no. Ed Connor?
Yes.
Bill Hahn?
Yes.
Boris?
No.
Okay. It passed.
9 to 3. I had 9 to 3.
Okay, next item?
Okay, so I did want to touch base. This is something new that has come up that we have not talked through in the building committee yet. But we have been going back and forth. This was presented to us from the school and the athletic departments. And this is for an ad service to TAPE to start exploring field upgrades at a feasibility level to the fields out west of the Bird campus. So this has, I guess, so to start, there was never a survey done of those fields. We have touched the fields with the soil pile, but we never had an original survey done out there. We did where the soil is, but the rest of it we haven't. So this would include a survey out of the fields, adding this feasibility study level is just looking at how everything would lay out. It's not actually moving forward into the full design and construction. So this is only feasibility level, but adding dugouts at the varsity softball field, adding 2 bullpens at the varsity softball field. And I just want to note that the varsity baseball bullpens were within the middle school project. So that is already owned. A new batting cage at varsity softball. Again, the varsity baseball batting cage was within the middle school project and owned. A new scoreboard at both the varsity softball and varsity baseball fields. Looking into adding press boxes with speakers to run the scoreboards and announcements. And this would be behind the backstops. It would be, the press boxes would be sheds similar to the one you have out there now at the ground level. So we're not talking about a big elevated press box. It's just a shed behind the backstop. And then looking at a concrete pad. So there would be more flexibility to add portable bleachers and potentially portable bathrooms to the JV baseball and varsity softball fields. So this would be a not to exceed value of $25,000 for an ad service to TAPE to explore these upgrades over at the fields.
Questions, comments, concerns?
This is Dino. Was this scope ever considered in the original design of the project?
No, originally we were not touching the playing fields at all for this part of the project. The only reason that we replaced the batting cage at the varsity baseball field was because we had to remove it to put in drainage. And that was part of that part of bringing it back after removing it.
And if I could just piggyback on that response, okay. So the other thing that it was supposed to address was originally this project saved about $200,000, if I remember correctly, by storing the dirt and excess materials over on the JV baseball field. The thought was, we'll need to put that back together, replace the irrigation system. I think Jim Thomas, the park superintendent, said the pump will need to be replaced. So those miscellaneous items were in there along with the boys varsity field for the batting cages, as Matt previously mentioned. Some thought behind this one is we're putting this field back together. Is it going to meet the needs of the programs, not only the high school offers, but also the gym coaches, gym teachers offer, and the youth programs that take advantage of those fields? So the thought process here is to put it back so it addresses our long-term needs. Yes, will it be a little bit more money? Probably, likely. There were some requests on there could we put a turf infield there? Could we move the softball field? Some of these items that just once we got talking to Matt and to Kate and to the team, just the cost blew up. So we're not going, if this is approved, it's not going to go down that route. these are some basic things to improve the aspects of the field, not moving the softball field. And the other thought process behind this is equity. If you're addressing the boys' programs here, and you know you're just leaving the girls' programs just to status quo, it just doesn't seem very fair, to be quite honest with you. So,
I mean, I'm not critical of the, I'm just kind of surprised that, you know, when you undertake a project like this, that some of that thinking wasn't brought to the table when you first were considering what to do. I mean, it's not like it's a surprise that $100 million project is the result of what we've been doing. I mean, none of that is surprising to people, so was it just not considered? Was it forgotten? I mean,
I'll answer the question since you're looking at me, but it might have been rhetorical, but I feel compelled to answer.
No,
It all had to do with costs. And you know, we value engineered so much out of this project.
Right.
Between graphics that were approved before, outdoor stairs that are gonna be addressed that are added back in here. A lot of the exterior items were just VE'd out. There was a plan originally for like a playground type ninja course at the beginning of this project that was VE'd out. And this was one of the things that, hey, we came into this thing thinking all these schools around the state at the time are over budget, they're cutting costs. And we were the only, Kate and Matt and whoever else is on this call, correct me if I'm wrong, we were the only project at the time of like a 6-month span that came in under budget when these bids actually came in.
so, the scope was VD'd out because estimates were running higher than what the final GMP price came in at?
I think that's right. Kate or Matt, you want to talk to that?
So in the MSBA process, we can't move forward to the next phase of design until we bring the project under budget. So I think at the DD level, we were like $7 million over budget. So in order for us to proceed into the next phase at the MSBA, we have to bring the project back under. So we had multiple different levels and iterations of VEing through design, and there was significant reductions. I think initially, you know, we're really focused on the project was really focused on the building. We weren't touching those fields, except for where there was drainage involved. But that's why we ended up taking a $200,000 credit and store the soil on site, because we saved in all that trucking cost. So that's where that even came from, was through the whole VE process.
So, I mean, Kate, then, did the GMP price come in significantly lower than the estimate?
No, but because we had many iterations of the estimate, which then we had to VE down. We came in about $30,000, I believe, under budget at the end of the day, with our GMP. But that was because we had done a really diligent job at VEing during the design phase to bring the project back under budget. We could not move forward with the MSBA until we got the project under budget.
So,
Yeah, all the estimates were going on while everything was very volatile as well from COVID. So the pricing was all over the place throughout all of our estimating process as well. So, you know, so things were skyrocketing during our estimates. Prices kept going up. So I think things started to come back down a little bit as our bids were coming in, which was good and helped our GMP come in on budget.
So there was I just want to get the sequencing here right. So, there's an estimate, and the estimate is higher than the anticipated cost. And that estimate was based on what, 90% drawings?
We did 60%, we did 90%.
In the DD set, right, Matt?
Correct. So in both DD and CD.
So you get estimates, they're significantly higher. Did I hear like $7 million, Kate, higher after 90%? So there's a big effort to do VE, to bring it back into budget.
Yeah, we VE basically after every estimate.
Right, so I'm right there. So you VE it, you finally get a GMP, which is, right at the number that can be supported.
There was a lot of phases in between that. So we had to do that at every single process. So when we got our DD estimate in and we were over budget, we had to show the MSBA and prove to the MSBA we were bringing the project back in under budget before we could move on to the construction document phase. We had to do that in the construction document phase twice again in order to keep moving forward.
Well, let me
By
try
the
this
time
from
we did
let me
the
try this from a
contract.
different way then. So the stuff that was VE'd out that was site work, what was the value of it?
That's a loaded question. I have to go back and look at all of the.
We have a whole list. It
That
was
a
3
lot
years
more.
ago.
Yeah. Well, I get the virtue of being the new guy on the team, so I can ask a question that kind of like throws a whole monkey wrench out. But, I mean, was it hundreds of thousands of dollars or was it millions of dollars?
I think it was millions. Kate, I think it was millions. I mean, yeah, it
For
was
site work itself or for the whole
just
VE?
general that we carved out.
I think it was close to $7 million. I mean, it was significant.
Wow. So, all the things that were VE'd out were total value of $7 million, and they included most of the things that we're having TAP-A reinvestigate.
Not all, but some.
No, we didn't really have any real site work out on the playing fields at all.
This wasn't a VE'd item at all.
Correct.
So
Correct.
it wasn't a VE'd item.
This is new scope.
This is all new stuff.
Correct.
I guess my question is, why are we looking at some of the outside VE stuff? Why is that not more important? If
We
this
have
was
it.
never in scope,
Some of the VE items have been added back in.
like the Ninja course?
No, the Ninja course is not getting added back.
That was a higher priority than this was.
I think,
I mean, Kate, do we have any preliminary, when you mentioned all the things you want to do, that number
So she
sounded.
doesn't want to do it,
No,
trust
no,
me.
well, that this added service is gonna investigate the cost of, that sounded like a really big number.
Well, it sounded like a lot. I don't know how big the number is.
I mean, let me ask it slightly different. Are you asking us to approve $25,000 for work that's going to be $500,000 or $1 million or $100,000? Can you give us at least a ballpark number like that?
That's what this number is to identify, to have our consultants start looking at a design, and then we can have Fontaine price it to figure out what it's gonna cost.
And are you going to do it hourly? So this is a not to exceed 25K, is that it?
We are getting proposals from our consultants. This is kind of just a placeholder until we get the final number for them.
Again, hourly, not to exceed 25K.
Okay.
Was that a nod? I'm sorry, did I miss that? Was that a yes?
We're only approving 25,000, they can't charge us more.
What are you looking for, Dino? T&M sheets, or what are we talking about here?
Well, I'm just wondering how you're gonna bill it, that's all. I mean, are you gonna bill 25K or are you gonna bill it hourly up to 25K? I mean,
I'll be honest with you.
that's
I-
really easy.
what I
That's
think
not a
they'll be
hard thing
billing-
for architects and engineers to do, right?
No, that's the number we're getting. It's not hourly, it's a fixed rate from all the consultants.
So you're gonna ask for $25,000 to look at all this stuff, and whether you take 5 hours to do it or 500 hours to do it, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
Yeah, but it could take them 1,000, and it's their risk, it's not ours.
Yep.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, I got one thing, Jack. You know, I kind of alluded to this in the previous PCO that we just talked about, and I'll be real brief. You know, the RTMs at town meeting are the ones who allocate the money for this, right? And they've allocated, whatever, $115 million for this project. And through the great work of TAP-A, Vertex, and Fontaine, we have come in underneath that, and we have our contingencies are very whole and can be used. And so if an RTM came up to me and was like, oh, hey, Ben, you know, you had the ability to take a look at these fields and, you know, see what could be improved, look at these items, not necessarily to do it, but you had the ability to do it. What would you rather say to an RTM? Oh yeah, you know, we left $3 million on the table, or we spent 25 grand to see if there was other possibilities for improvement. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. We should look at other possibilities for improvement. Why would we not?
Well,
And I
but-
haven't really heard a reason.
But do we
why
have to
wouldn't.
spend all the money?
No.
What happens if you look at the RTM and said, you know, you approved 115 million, but we have spent 112? Isn't that great?
Who says we have to spend it all?
Well,
It's 25 grand.
But that's the,
We have like,
I think
what do we
that's
have
the
left in
argument you're
contingency?
making, like, we have the pool
we've
of
got-
money, why not spend it, right?
But it's not, why not spend it on like popsicles for the kids? It's why not spend it on improving the fields? It's like a real concrete item, right? It's not just like balloons or something. It's an actual improvement that can take place. And we're at what contingency, like 3.5 million? I mean, no one here is saying we should like redo ball fields and spend 3.5 million just for the sake of maxing out. That's not the argument here, right? But if we can get an edge on future work by having a plan in place, it makes sense to me that we do it. I don't know why we wouldn't.
The future work I got my eye on is the high school, so.
Well, let's finish one project at a time, Jack.
Well,
The one's already underway, Ben.
let me offer
There's no
this.
spades, hasn't gone to town meeting yet, man.
Ben, I'd like to offer this. Every dollar that we save on this project can be used towards the high school project, which we know we're gonna have a problem on. If you go ahead and you look at the list of the items here that we're asking TAPA to take a look at for a design perspective, what I see high school items, varsity, JV. I don't see Bird Middle School. I don't see junior high school programs. I see high school programs. So let's be careful here. Just because the money is available, just because we've done a really good job and spent the money carefully, and we have good contractors working with us, all right? This is well within the realm of nice-to-haves. Is it worth taking $25,000 and taking a look and seeing what the cost will be? Sure, probably it is. But to go ahead and say that we're gonna spend this kind of money on the fields at this point in time, I just think is a little bit overkill, so.
Well, I don't think we're talking about the fields, Jack, right? We're just talking about the 25K.
Sorry, what?
It's just the
We're just talking-
25K right now.
25K right now.
Yeah, so I agree with you, Jack. Yeah, it's just the 25. Nobody's saying we're gonna redo the fields and spend all the money. I'm simply making the point that we might as well look at it, which is, I think, what you just said.
All right, any more discussion? Any motions?
I'd make a motion to approve the 25,000 PCO to investigate the fields. I don't have it in front of me.
That was Ben. Any second?
I second it, Jean.
Thank you, Gene. All right. Mike Friska,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Gene, yes.
Yes.
Nancy Galvin? Nancy? Bridget? Bridget?
Bridget had to step off for another meeting.
Okay. Dawn?
I'll say yes if it includes popsicles.
I like that.
Dino?
Yes.
Jeff?
No?
I'm a no. Ed Connor?
I'm a yes.
Bill Hahn?
He stepped off as well with Bridget.
Boris?
I'm a yes.
Okay. The motion carries.
7-2, right? 7-2. Patrick just said, yeah.
Oh, Patrick?
No, Patrick had said, just say the vote. I have it passed 7-2.
7-2.
Yeah, for the minutes, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Kate, you're up next. What's the status?
So we're jumping into the construction update, so I will pass this along to Joel.
Thanks, Kate. So big picture, we're about 2 months out from our overall project substantial completion of the building. Things are progressing well, right where they should be. We'll kind of take you through some photos here. Main entrance canopy, we were just looking at there. So you can see the concrete walkway below the canopy is in, and canopy is just waiting for paint. And gets translucent panels up the top. So that entrance is coming along nicely. This is kind of the rear of the building. You can see some of the site development, retaining walls, cast in place stairs going in. and sidewalks going in as we kind of finish up that back of house area. If you've been out there or been by recently, you notice the trees are all coming in. So the trees were all tagged by the landscape architect. He went to the nursery and picked out the best ones with the landscape contractor. And we are grading out and loaming out the area around the new building. And those plantings are going in as we speak, and they're making pretty good progress on them. Inside the building, these shots are looking at the cafeteria. So you can see the cafeteria light fixtures are in, the wood ceiling is going in, and the acoustical ceiling up above that by the skylight. Those are ongoing. Kind of the auditorium, cafeteria, gym are kind of the last finish areas for us. And go on from there. So this is looking up at the gym. So all of the upper work is done. The last two things that happen in the gym. So you get your basketball hoops up, divider curtains, all that's in place. Everything's painted, ready to go. The wood floor will start going down tomorrow. That's kind of the last piece. The wood floor gets put in, sanded, painted, and sealed. And then the bleachers go in on top of that. So it'll be about a month probably worth of work to get that wood floor done and get all the basketball lines striped on it and so forth. And that area will be 100%. Auditorium's coming along really nicely too. There's a shot there of some of the acoustical panels on the wall. There's a couple panels that we're waiting for to come in, but other than that, it's going to be getting the stage floor done. The seats for the auditorium are coming June 17th, and that space will be done by that point. So just in terms of high-level activities that are going on the site, got a general summary here, but to cut it down, we started final cleaning this week. So we have a cleaning contractor mobilized on Monday, and started an A building where we started the work originally, the finished work. So final cleans started in A, and they'll work their way through B, through C, into D building where the gym and the auditorium and cafeteria are. And we're wrapping up the last finishes in C building and into D. And site work and landscaping are ongoing. And we're spending a lot of effort right now getting ready for demolition. So June 15th, which is a day after the last people get out of Bird Middle School, our demolition and abatement contractor will mobilize, and we'll get going on getting the rest of the site ready and getting the Bird School out of the way. So that's coming soon. It's less than a month away. We also have put a lot of effort, probably in the past 2 months or so, into kind of finalizing the site logistics for the rest of the project and how things are going to look. So we basically broke up the rest of the project into 4 kind of distinct mini phases. So we have 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D, and we'll kind of walk through what things will look like so everyone has kind of a high level understanding of how things will come together from here through completion of the project. So these logistics plans we presented to the school and on the project team. We also held a meeting with some of the town departments, fire department, DPW, et cetera, to get everybody kind of informed with what was going on. And we got a bunch of great comments back through that process, incorporate a lot of that here. So what we're looking at is kind of a finalized, hey, this is the plan for the rest of the project. So what you're looking at right now is what we call phase 2A. So that's this summer, as soon as the kids get out, through when the teachers come back at the end of August. And our primary activity is the area in orange there, where we're going to be taking down the existing bird school. We're thinking about 6 weeks. We'll have bird school done, on removed. And then we've got a significant fill that comes in behind that. We've got to build up that grade with all that dirt that's stored in the outfield of the JV field right now. So we got to get about 14 feet of fill placed in that area. There's a lot of site work that happens underneath that building too. But we also, the area in green, we're going to be shaping up the site, doing final site finishes, sidewalks, landscaping, plantings, etc. So that'll be kind of ongoing through the summer. We'll be finishing up those areas. We also have a line in blue at the top of the screen there. So your furniture starts coming June 24th. So the Vertex team and TAP A have been coordinating all this furniture that's coming in, getting selected, and Vertex is working on planning out those deliveries. So we've got to maintain a trucking access for furniture deliveries throughout the summer as you guys take the building over and get all the furniture and technology and all that stuff in there. So we highlighted that here. So phase 2B is kind of a swing phase. So when the kids come back to school, the teachers come back August 26th, we've got a period of about 8 weeks where we'll still be working in the footprint of the bird school. So there's, like I said, there, sidewalks, there's a huge fill operation. There's also an enormous underground detention basin that'll go within the footprint of the existing school. So all that work has to happen. We have to pave, landscape, etc. And we're figuring right now that by mid-October, we'll be done there. So we have this kind of temporary pattern in place where you can see the parent traffic outlined in blue there. So that's kind of a temporary bit for the first few weeks of school. The parents will kind of circulate around the building, in off Washington, out East Street. And the buses will also continue utilizing the temporary bus road that they've been using for the past 2 years, just for this kind of 8-week period while we continue finishing up the site there. That's about it. So the other thing here is, like, the majority of the new school's parking goes within the footprint of the bird school. So we are able to accommodate most of the needed parking for Bird and Johnson staff and parents, visitors, etc. on the site, but we do have a small temporary parking area in this condition that'll be there for a short period of time and then get restored as we move our way out in the fall. So the next is phase 2C here. And this is basically when things get into the final condition. So you can see the blue traffic line is the parent drop-off, and the yellow line is the bus drop-off, and that's your design configuration. That's the final. Hey, the parking lot's turned over. You've got full use of everything that you planned on having, and what we'll be working on for this period from middle of October to probably end of November is finishing up the landscaping at the JV field and kind of down along that that edge of the site there. And we also have where the temporary bus road is now, that'll get removed, and in the final condition you have a walkway restored. So we'll be doing all that work in that fall. October 21st to November 29th is what we've got planned right now, and finishing that up. And the schedule always had us going into the spring of 2025, and we're thinking the way things have shaped up that we really shouldn't need to be doing much in the spring of 25. If anything, we've got this area in yellow here. We might be there doing some landscaping punch list type of things, stuff that has to wait for the growing season, like if a tree needs to get replaced or anything like that. So we may have to be returning to do odds and ends. You may also have a couple areas that if we seed new grass in, say, October, November, we might want to put up some snow fence at some areas to protect some new plantings, just to keep foot traffic off of them in the spring season. But as far as anything else, you're basically, you're done and project complete at that point.
Great job.
Any questions on logistics?
Great diagrams.
Thank you.
So moving on, just to review the meetings held with the same group of meetings, we have our weekly OAC meetings. We have our internal hot list calls with Vertex, Fontaine, and Tape every Friday. Our technology meetings are ongoing bi-weekly. Transition move management meetings are ongoing. FF&E delivery starts June 24th and runs through the end of July. And MEP commissioning is ongoing. They really have been on site for startups and monthly, if not weekly. We have monthly commissioning meetings, but our commissioning agent is on site pretty much weekly at this point. Same construction administration. TAPE is out weekly. Consultants are coming out as needed. PSI, our third-party testing agent, is on site as needed. Submittal review is ongoing. It's mainly O&M manuals, so operation and maintenance manuals at this point, and a few items for the later phase, but we're in really good shape with submittal review. RFIs are ongoing. Architect supplemental instructions are going back and forth. We've had 3 issued since the last building committee meeting. And then we have, it's actually 2 new PCOs, which I can flip back to. Just to highlight the transition schedule. So now that we're going to be moving into June, there's a lot going on within the first 2 to 3 weeks of June. So as everybody knows, the last day of school at the Byrd Middle School is, and all of the schools, is June 13th. They have a half day. So our move starts on June 14th, but we are actually even taking advantage of the half day at Byrd on the 13th. So we're actually having the custodians help us move desks. There's about 500 desks in the Byrd Middle School that are getting saved and moved over to the high school. So that consolidating those desks, so it makes it easier for the movers. That process will happen on actually the last day of school, the 13th. The movers will be on site at Byrd on the 14th. And they have promised me they will be able to move everything out of the Byrd Middle School over to the new middle school on the 14th. And then there is a turning out the light ceremony that is scheduled for the 14th as well at Byrd Middle School from 4:30 to 7 p.m. And I'll make sure everybody gets that flyer if you have not received it already. I know Bridget, I believe, has handed it out or posted it. So there's a lot of moving pieces happening in June. Not only do we have the movers themselves, but then there's technology that we want to salvage out of the Byrd Middle School. There's leased printers that have to get moved. Right after the movers leave the Byrd, they're going over to Johnson to move out everything over there. And then we are donating about 1,000 desks and chairs, and then reusing about 500 throughout the district. So there's a lot of moving pieces. Just to touch base on the technology move that I mentioned. So we do have the movers under contract for the move piece of it. But the technology move is more specialized, and there's a lot of equipment that the school wants to reuse that is in the Byrd Middle School and the Johnson. So we are moving forward with a Wally to help us remove any technology the school wants to salvage. So which includes exterior cameras, projectors, computers, some printers. So there's quite a few pieces that are coming out of Byrd and getting moved to other schools in the district. So we have a $30,000 placeholder for this Wally technology move, and we're planning on having that hit the technology line item, which has we're under budget and on the previously approved not to exceed amount. So that's where we're going to carry that move for the technology piece. Additional FF&E. So we have a few items that have come up since the big package was released. So I like to say that we'll guarantee we'll get everything in the first shot, but there's a few things that have come up, which includes the Hertz. It includes 2 pottery wheels that have been requested by the art teachers, including stools, additional classroom flags and extra flags, and a coffee maker for the central kitchen. The infrastructure for this coffee maker was captured under Fontaine's contract, and this is the coffee maker itself. A printer table that came up when we were going through where the printers are going to be located, and that'll go into the media center. When we were talking through the move and walking Johnson and Bird, we realized that there is a big flag on the stage of the auditorium. We did not order that in the original package, so we want to order that. And then Mill Hench, a floor burnisher. So last month, the committee approved not to exceed $83,000 to apply the floor finish onto the floor, and this is a burnisher. So this would be how the custodians will maintain it going forward when they have to reapply the same finish. So we're asking for a vote to approve an additional FF&E order in the amount of $20,029.46.
Jade, I think you're looking for a motion to, and second to authorize this?
Yes.
Anybody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Dino made the motion. A second, please.
Second.
Who was that?
Mike Frisha.
Okay. Okay. Calling the roll. Mike, you were a yes.
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Nancy? Bridget?
She's off.
Donnie?
Yes.
Dino?
Yes.
Jeff's no longer here. I'm a yes. Ed Connor?
Yes.
Bill Hahn? Ora Senek?
Yes.
Okay. It is passed. Okay.
I'm just gonna flip back before we do invoices. I know we pulled up the PCO log previously. I just want to note the 2 at the bottom. So just a reminder, this black line indicates things that have been discussed in previous building committee meetings. There are 2 new items that are getting tracked currently. So when we were walking through the Johnson and Bird middle schools, we noticed that there are red backpacks in each one of the classrooms. And those are for, every teacher has to have this red backpack with kind of like life safety stuff in it for emergency purposes. So we to add hooks into every single classroom and office and main space in the building to accommodate these red backpacks that are provided by the SRO officer. So we are looking at that, reviewing the number right now. And then there was a request for tack boards at the staff lunch and UK. So we're reviewing that number right now. So those are just the 2 new PCOs since the last building committee meeting. And then flipping through to the vendor invoice packages. So just the standard invoice, we are paying 1 invoice to Micronet for technology. This is for Chromebooks for our teachers and the students. We have white glove service for these Chromebooks, which means one Chromebook is imaged by the school and Micronet, and then Micronet is finishing that imaging for the school. So everything is delivered, and it's not a huge undertaking on the school's part to get everything ready for the fall. So just to flip through the invoices real quick. So the standard Vertex invoice, TAP A. This is that Micronet invoice that I mentioned for $429,000, which was reviewed by our consultant, Fontaine's rec for $4,685,000. And through April, they are currently 79% complete. The budget update is in here for reference. And then where we are with reimbursements. So we're looking for a vote for the April vendor invoice package in the amount of $5,361,095.08.
Any questions or comments? I'll take a motion to authorize payment of the vendor invoice package.
So moved to pay the invoice package of $5,361,095.08.
Thank you, Gene. Second?
Second, Ben.
Okay. Going along, Mike?
Yes.
Ben, you were yes. Gene was a yes.
Yes.
Donnie?
Yes.
Dino?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Ed Connor?
Yes.
Bill Hahn? He's not here.
No.
And Boris? Boris?
Yes.
Okay. Kate?
Just to touch base on communications to and from the MSBA. Our next remote site visit is scheduled for June 12th, and our quarterly change order submissions are up to date. And then we just have a note here for reference, but once the MSBA has reimbursed the district up to 95% of the estimated grant, the MSBA will place the remaining payments to the district on hold. And I just want to note we're currently at 74.73%. So once that percentage goes up to 95%, the MSBA will hold the reimbursements until the closeout process is complete, and that has been taking up to 2 years. Meeting dates, the next meeting is scheduled for June 18th, and I just want to remind everybody we have a building tour scheduled for tomorrow, May 22nd at 5 p.m., and we'll meet outside the trailers at the teacher parking lot.
Sorry, Kate, how long do you think that'll last, that tour? Sure.
Probably like a half an hour to 40 minutes. It shouldn't be much longer than that.
Thank you.
And
Any
that's
other
it.
questions, comments, business to be raised? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Who was that?
Forrest.
A second, please.
Second.
Okay, Mike?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
You're obviously a
Yes.
I'm a yes. Ed Connor?
Yes.
And Boris?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening, and we'll
Thank
see
you.
you either tomorrow night or on the